Everybody, it's Bruce with Nature Calls, and I've got the brand new Hilleberg Allak 3. I used the Allak 2 last year up on the Summit Lake hike. I'll put a link to that hike there. We had that, the Stika, and then there's another guy with a Charon 4 GT up there. We stayed in the Allak 2, had two 25-inch mats and a dog, and it was just small. It was too small for me, and I was really hoping the Stika was a little too big for me. And I was going, God, I would love to have the Allak, but in a 3-person size, and they came out with it. So I'm really excited. I'm doing a home setup, plus I always get requests to have equipment and things like that in the tent, and to have multiple sleep mats and all that. I'm just doing it at home this time. But it's good because I'm hoping to get it up in the snow real soon. And first off, request from a viewer. So to give some reference point, that's a 1-liter Nalgene bottle. Now if you squished it down completely, that's what it would look like. Future reference for people, most tents, most manufacturers will make it so it'll fit in a backpack. So, you know, if you're looking at this 21 inches, that's pretty standard. So around the middle, we're looking at 28 uncompressed, 22 compressed. So that's with everything in it. Now I'll put all the specs down in the comments below, or you can go to the Hilleberg website and see all the different specs on it. But it's 8 pounds, 3 ounces, or 3.7 kilograms, I think. And that includes the stuff sacks, the pegs, the poles, the extra pole and repair kit, lines, everything. Here looking at the bottom of it, or the bathtub floor, I think that's a 70 denier, just beautiful fabrics. Here's the pole and stake bags, and I think that is same Curlon 1200. Now the Curlon 1200, that I'll have to ask them. That's probably Curlon 1200 as well. But probably one of the biggest positives about Hilleberg is their fabric. Well, of course, their design and all that, but their fabric and the materials they use are top notch. So there you can see there's a spare pole in there and a pole sleeve kit. And when you set it up, all tents have a nice orientation to the wind, and looking at this where they have the Hilleberg label with the Allak 3, this is what I would put into the wind. If you see that, it's always nice to be able to mark out a spot that you can put into the wind. That'd be the prevailing wind, of course, or you know what's ever happening at the time, but it looks like they put the label right where you would want the prevailing wind. Let's take a look at the Curlon 1200, which is the red label tent. Just beautiful fabric. It's triple impregnated silicone, sil nylon, and the stitching is just, I learned a ton from the manufacturing and inspecting how they do things. It's just perfect, and there's always one person over there in Estonia that's making these. Just beautiful construction. And the floors are different. I think it's 70 denier type of floor, but it's definitely tough. And the red label tents, you'll get this DAC Featherlight NSL green. It's the 9 millimeters. See if I can find that. But yeah, if you look up the DAC and their process of making these poles, it's the best out there. So they've got 3 poles, and they're all the same length. And you're putting your poles together, make sure they're all well seated in. If there's going to be a failure, you know, majority of tent failures are with the poles. And so you want to inspect your poles. You want to make sure they're all seated correctly, and so there won't be any, you know, the wrong torque and tension and have them fail on you. Now, they are all 3 poles are the same length. That's what's nice. That's what I love about how, you know, when they designed their tents, they obviously took that into account, is how can we make our poles easier. So they designed the tent so you had 3 the same length. I think that's really cool. Let's Put the poles, and the other question is which poles do you do first? Now what I do is I put the 2 poles that are going with the wind first, and then I would do the cross pole. Put in these these are that heavier, a little more rubberized pole sleeves, and then a really heavy duty pole cup. Now they have put ribbons, so the corresponding pocket on the other side of this one would be blue, and then they have white and they have red. So not that it's a huge confusing, but that's just a nice touch. So insert the pole all the way down. You want to get it all the way down into this heavy duty rubberized piece of fabric down here, and then this is heavier duty fabric here. Again, I just love the construction of all this. I'll go and I will insert those on the other end. Place them all the way down. There's my 2 longitudinals in. Now I will do the crossbar. Now if it's a real windy situation, they recommend you kind of walking around, clipping it and having it come up. And having it come up gradually all together. Of course, if it was super windy, I would be staking this all out and using guy lines and making sure, but there's no wind. I'm doing the test setup actually. So you just kind of keep going around and bringing it up a little at a time. The stakes you get, I think you get 14 of these, the V stakes, DAC, super lightweight, super strong. What's nice on this actually is that you have 2 guy lines, and they set their guy lines in such awesome spots. But this upper guy line, you want to bring that around the pole, and then that really connects the tent to the pole and really adds to the overall strength of the tent for sure. This is their special line. I love this line. I've had these tents out in the cold where these lines have got wet and icy, and they're really grippy. They don't stretch. They don't have an outer sheath that slides like paracord. They're just always grippy, and their line locks are super easy to use. Especially with gloves on. You want to put your stakes in at a 45-degree angle and press them all the way down pretty far as you can go. And there's little notches on this stake, but you want as much into the ground as you can go. Then we're going to tension these just so they're putting some nice tension on the poles, but not deforming the poles. Now before I put the rain fly on, I just want to show you that they have a vent above each door. It's a breathable, highly breathable, that has a DWR on it. This will be covered by the rain fly. That can be opened up completely. And the rain fly, you can, so it's nice, is like, see, that's coming from the wind side as well. So the wind will carry it over for you. And you just clip it on to some little rings. That gives you a rain fly. Now the rain fly also has tie outs, and if you're going into a real humid spot, ventilation in any tent to keep the condensation down is everything. So you could even tie that out, and that would make sure that it's not closing up at all. And they've got those on all the way around, but that's an additional tie out, guy out point. Now to really bring this design together, I'm going to tighten that rain fly down. That'll give us just a rock solid tent. Now around each door you have that rubberized material. It's very similar. I don't know if it's the same as the stuff they have in the pockets. A little more rubbery, so that's another rain catch. Unzip it. They do serious testing on all their zippers. It's real important to keep those tent doors off the ground. That's where if they get repair issues, it's with the people letting their zippers get into the dirt. So keep those tent doors up out of the dirt, nice and tied back. And down here, this is a door band, and it can be removed if you want to, but this door band is really important to have that tension correctly, so the door, when it's zipped up, the outer door when it's zipped up, has the proper tension on it. Sometimes this gets loose, or people loosen it up, and there's too much tension on the zippers. So make sure you keep it where they set it, which is the right spot, or just make sure your doors aren't taking too much of the load, but just enough to keep the tent nice and stretched. Here's the nice bathtub floor. You can see that's super, super high. It's a good 8 inches. Comes up to, this is an all-season tent, so you'll have fabric up with the bug screen on the outside, but this fabric. So in an all-season tent, you'd have the sides coming all the way to the ground, so that's keeping rain and snow from coming in. And then the inner tent also has another barrier to having that snow come in. So that's where you'll see this fabric, this yellow fabric on the inside, and that way you have an all-season tent. So right there you can see the suspension. So the inner tent is suspended off the outer tent, a good 4 inches or so, and it all goes up at the same time. That's really the beauty of the Hilleberg tent is that the inner and the outer go up at the same time. So if you do your practice and you get it set up right, you can always end up with a dry inner tent. And then if you want, you can remove this whole inner tent to have like a bigger area in here. Super interesting. So right here they've added a little triangle of that rubber, and that's probably to keep it so if it's really windy that those zippers don't clang back and forth. Haven't seen that one yet. So you have an inverse T door. And on the inside, you can unzip the bug mesh. So there you have just the bug mesh. So that's a real nice feature, and to keep it from getting too humid in there if you're working on, if it's a hotter day. And this whole outer tent can be set up, or this whole inner tent could be set up by itself as just a regular tent. You can get some pole fittings. And you can also get second poles. These pole sleeves are designed to have 2 poles. I'll put all the inner dimensions, but this is a 3-person tent. And what tent manufacturers is, they basically take 20-inch mats, and that's their person. I always use 25-inch mats, so that's why when I took this tent last year up to Summit Lake, and we stayed in it, it was a little too tight. So I was wishing, God, I would love an Allak that was maybe a 3-person. So that's why I just love that this tent came out. So I'm gonna go get some sleep mats and fill her up. Now if we needed to vent, we could just pull that down, say it's in the winter, which is where I am right now. We could roll this up and get maximum ventilation. So in the winter, what I would do is I'd have it kind of like that to get maximum ventilation during the winter time. In here you've got 3 pockets on both sides. That's a really nice touch. Of course you're going to have 3 people in here. So this is my Osprey 88-liter pack, and that fits in there just fine. So you could easily have 2 packs in there. They won't be full of stuff, of course. You're going to have your sleep gear and all that inside with you. So it's basically an empty pack, and yeah. So that takes plenty. There's plenty of room for a 88-liter pack plus another pack on both sides, plus room to get out. Okay, another big question is it tall enough for somebody? I'm 6 feet tall. That's easily 11, 12 inches there. And down at my feet, I've got another maybe 4 or 5 inches down there. So if I'm in my sleeping bag, so it'd actually be, I like my head up. So there is in a quilt. And I'd actually, I like my head further to the, so it's punching into the tent surface so I can put my pillow there. So plenty of room for over 6 feet tall. We got the top, little tabs all around. There's the pockets over there. There's pockets over here. I can bring that back. Yeah, just tons of room. Love it. All right, so there's the Allak 3. I'm real excited about it. I hope I can get it up in the snow real soon. For me, it's the perfect dome tent for my lifestyle, for 2 people and a dog kind of safe type of thing. I love this size. The inner just by itself, you know, it's got DWR on it. If it's just a, you know, summertime and no, you know, maybe light sprinkles, that would be just fine. So good tent, and you can get the optional all mesh inner if you want to. So, all right, thanks a lot, and hope to see you on the trail. Bye now.